heard him say the one and only line in the film. At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have our revenge. Revenge for what? Who are you? We won't find out any answers to these questions in this film, but don't worry, I'm sure they'll explain them all in the next two. Meanwhile, Qui-Gon tries to get to know Anakin a little better by taking a sample of his blood. He sticks a device in his arm and sends the data to Obi-Wan and asks him to analyze the sample. This is yet another case of Lucas dropping things into the film when he needs them to be there without having it make any sense. I mean, did Qui-Gon take that blood sampler with him to the negotiations, or does he just carry it around with him wherever he goes? So Obi-Wan analyzes the sample and finds that Anakin's metachlorian count is off the charts.
Come on!
What metachlorian is? I'll bet it's something really good that enhances and reinforces the spiritual elements of the Force. So Qui-Gon makes the deal with Watto. If Anakin wins the race, Watto gets to keep all the winnings minus the parking fees, and if he loses, Watto gets their ship. Qui-Gon informs Obi-Wan of the plan, and then he mentions that he has a strange feeling about the boy. Nah, too easy. He talks about this with Anakin's mom, and quickly identifies Anakin as someone who is strong in the Force. So then he asks who the father is, and the mother explains that there was no father. She just woke up one day and was pregnant with him. Lucas, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? You're throwing Immaculate Conception into this now? For what? What does this add to Anakin's character? Nothing. What relevance will this have to the rest of the film? None. Stop pulling things out of your ass that have no payoff. So Qui-Gon goes to Watto and ups the stakes on the race. He tells him that he'll wager his pod in exchange for Anakin and his mother. Watto then tells him that a pod isn't worth 2 slaves by a long shot. So Qui-Gon just offers the pot against the boy. So you didn't give 2 craps about these poor suffering slaves when they weren't of any value to you, but now that you've identified one that you want, you'll try to get him off the planet. Nice. Real nice. What the hell kind of Jedi are these? Guardians of Truth and Justice, my ass. The deal is made, and then we get to the race. The 10-minute long, boring as hell, may as well fast forward it, race. But you know, now I can see why Lucas didn't use the time he had to put a good story together or develop any of the characters, because we really needed to watch this. Anakin wins the race and they get the part. There, I just saved you 10 minutes of nothing. And come to think of it, when we tally up the 10 minutes of swimming around in the water, the journey to the Gungan city that we didn't need to watch, and this coma of a racing scene, we realize that Episode 1 isn't even a movie at all. What it is a 2-hour-long special effects demo reel. Who gives a shit? So Qui-Gon tells Anakin that he is now free and offers for him to come with him. Anakin gets very excited when all of a sudden she stopped it again. Let's see. Will you tell me his name so I can write it?
That was right.
Who?
That's perfect.
Or Alright. Ready to go home.
Ready to go home. I'd like to.
January 11th, 2011. She stopped it again. Jen? She stopped it again. That's a piece. January 11th, she stopped it again. She stopped it again. January 11th, she stopped it again. January 11th, she stopped it again. She stopped it again. So,
Well, you can't drive.
Oh, you turned it back on.
Yeah. Are you...
He asks if his mom will be going as well. Qui-Gon informs him that he did everything he could to free his mom, but he just couldn't do it. So unfortunately, Anakin is now being forced to be separated from his mother. So they get to their ship, and all of a sudden they're attacked by Darth Time Fillers. He fights with Qui-Gon for a while until Qui-Gon eventually jumps aboard the ship, and they all get away. So long, Tatooine. We weren't able to help you this time, but don't worry. I'm sure they'll come back and free all the slaves in the next 2 films. You're playing off the field.
Did you know Sprite uses artificial preservatives? So get real. Try Sierra Mist Natural. Naturally sweetened with real sugar and nothing artificial. Deliciously refreshing Sierra Mist Natural. The natural one.
Welcome to part 3. And it's here that we finally learn what the midichlorians are. They're microscopic life forms that live inside their cells, without which they would have no knowledge of the force. All midichlorians have a symbiotic relationship with those who possess them and speak to them, whispering the will. When I saw Star Trek Generations for the first time, saw Guinan's ghost or something, and heard all the fairy tale music in the background, I said, okay, so I guess the Nexus isn't a scientific phenomenon, it's magic. Great. Just great. This bullshit storyline actually gives me the opposite problem. Now the Force is not a spiritual phenomenon, it's science. Great. Just great. Lucas, you could not have undermined the whole point of the Force any more than this. This puts who a great Jedi is and who isn't in the realm of natural selection rather than spirituality. If you're born with lots of midichlorians, you're great. If not, then it doesn't matter what you do. You'll never be as good as anyone that has a higher count. And this sums up one of my ultimate problems about these insanities of prequel films, where in the original films, a great Jedi was judged by who these people are. In these films, a great Jedi is judged only by what they can do, which is gratuitous because they all seem to be doing exactly the same stuff. But now I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So everyone goes back to Coruscant, and Queen Uba-Duba begins talking with Senator Peppertee, while the Jedi go to report the Sith and the boy. The Senator tells Uba-Duba that he doesn't have any confidence in the Chancellor sending Republic forces to intervene on the Trade Federation, but a special session will take place in the Senate so they can hear her case. Peppertee suggests that the Queen cast a vote of no confidence against the Chancellor, but the Queen hesitates because the Chancellor is one of Naboo's strongest supporters. Meanwhile, the Jedi report that they think there's a Sith on Naboo, and all the Jedi discuss this as if we're supposed to know what that is. Finally, Qui-Gon brings up the boy. He says he has the highest midichlorian count in recorded history, lucky him, and he believes he may have been conceived by the midichlorians. Not the Force, the midichlorians. Oh, okay, then never mind. I guess there was no immaculate conception. I guess his mom was just some woman the midichlorians had sex with to produce Anakin. So the Jedi then assume that Qui-Gon is talking about the prophecy of the one who will restore balance to the Force, and they assume that he thinks the boy is the person in this prophecy. Interesting, considering Obi-Wan never mentioned a prophecy, Yoda never mentioned a prophecy, Darth Vader never mentioned a prophecy, the Emperor never mentioned a prophecy. It's almost as if the whole prophecy thing wasn't in the original films and is now being pulled out of Lucas's ass with no payoff. Nah, I'm sure it just slipped all their minds. Meanwhile, they hold the boring-as-hell Senate meeting, and Uba-Duba reports the Trade Federation's occupying force that's killing her people. She asks for immediate intervention, but then the Trade Federation chimes in, saying that she hasn't presented any actual evidence that an occupying force is taking place. So the Chancellor says the best he can do is send a commission team to